Welcome back to World History. I am Mr. McCall. Today what I want to do is I want to introduce our next unit. Now, in world history, the first thing we talked about was patterns of population. So we talked about how humans started out on Earth and how they grew from there. Alright, so that's patterns of population. We talked about early hominids, hunter-gatherers to farming, rise of the Sumerian city-states, ancient Sumer, and we finished off last talking about the geography and early settlement of India. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to introduce the next unit. Patterns of population is done. Now what we're going to be talking about is economic networks and exchange. Alright, so this is essentially what it's going to look like. First thing is the achievements of the Gupta Empire in India. We're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about fighting the Persian Wars and how that relates to economic networks and exchange. And then we're going to talk about the Silk Road. Let's go into a little bit more detail on these. So, the achievements of the Gupta Empire. This is where we're really going to be taking a look at why would this time period be known as a golden age? Oftentimes it's referred to as one of India's golden ages in history. So we're going to take a look at it and decide, does it fit? We have the key vocabulary here. You might pause the video and jot these down so you can get started on your vocabulary already, because you can't be successful without the vocabulary. We're going to talk about identifying the Gupta Empire and key cities on maps. We're going to define characteristics of a golden age, similar to how we looked at the characteristics of a civilization. We're going to talk about what is a golden age. We're going to describe the traditions of ancient India, many of which blossomed during this time. And we're going to explain why the Gupta period is known as a golden age. The next thing we're going to discuss is fighting the Persian Wars. Now, the Persian Wars were a series of wars fought mainly between Greeks and the Persian Empire. All right. The essential question, though, is what factors influence the outcome of the Persian Wars? Because looking at the two civilizations before the war, well, you might come to a conclusion that the Persians were going to win. So, how is it that the Greeks end up winning? Vocabulary, obviously, very important. You can't be successful if you don't know what these key terms mean. We're going to locate the Persian Empire. It's in modern-day Iran. And we're going to describe the founding, the expansion, and the politics of the Persian Empire, because that's very important for the Persian Wars. We're going to talk about Athens and Sparta and what roles they played in the Persian Wars. We're going to summarize the key battles of the Persian Wars, and then we're going to finish off by evaluating the factors that contributed to Greek victory. And lastly, for this unit, we're going to talk about the Silk Road. So all of our units focus on Eurasia, whether it's Southern Europe, Southern Asia, or Eastern Asia. The Silk Road. How did the Silk Road promote an exchange of goods and ideas? Because not only were people trading goods, but they were also sharing ideas. We have our key vocabulary here. Again, jot it down so you can be successful with it. Next up, Trans-Eurasian trade routes during the Han Dynasty and the Roman Empire. We're going to talk about some of those. Trans-Eurasian just means it went across Europe and Asia. All right. We're going to talk about some of the travel difficulties that they had. We'll get into the exchange of goods, ideas, and beliefs. So what kind of exchanges they had. We'll also talk about the diffusion of Buddhism. Buddhism is a religious belief, a religious system. Diffusion is something you probably should have learned in science. In case you didn't, it's just basically the spreading of ideas. So if you add food coloring to water, when it drips in there, it starts out as that initial drip, and then it starts to spread. All right, that's diffusion. All right, so this is economic networks and exchange. This is the unit that we will be working on next in world history with Mr. McCall. I hope this has been edifying. I'm Mr. McCall. Take care.